Namaste yogis, welcome to the Yoga Pantry with me, Natasha. Now today we're going to do a little practice for anyone who has rolled their ankle. So I was moving house, and the house we just moved into is at the front has some uneven concrete, and I was not very mindful this particular day. Was busy thinking about all the things I had to get done, and I stepped on the unevenness a little wrong, and down I went. And I knew as soon as I landed on the ground and that wave of nausea came up that I had done something seriously not great to my foot. Now, because we were busy moving and everything else, I actually didn't get a chance to rest it, which for me I think worked out really well. Because it kept it mobile. I did strap it up straight away. I did put some arnica cream on it, and I strapped it up nice and tight, and then I just had to get on with life, and I had to get on with life the whole time through. So I actually never really got a rest because I also had to continue teaching. However, what I have learnt from having my ankle injured is lots of modifications that aren't just great for people with ankle injuries, but also great if you actually don't have a lot of mobility in your ankle to begin with. So if you do have an ankle injury, please make sure that you strap it or have some kind of brace for your ankle so that it is, and make sure it's firm and supported. That way, even if you go a little far in something, it's still got support. Another thing that's going to be a good friend is a blanket or a cushion. I am, I think, 6 weeks in now, so it's actually doing really, really well, and I don't think I cracked anything. I didn't get it checked out. But the swelling went down and the bruising went down, and it got better slowly, but there are still some poses that I can really feel where the injury is deep inside, so there's still a lot of cautiousness. So whenever you feel pain, just ease off, but you can still have your yoga practice. I wouldn't suggest going straight into it. I did have 1 day off teaching when I first did it. Yeah, it's been a great lesson in mindfulness, and it's just been a great lesson in modifications, really, because you really don't know what works until you actually have an injury yourself. So grab a blanket and let us go through a few modifications, and we'll just go through a little practice that you can do, especially if it is fresh. I am very sorry if you are going through an ankle injury, because it's not great. See you soon. Alright, so the first thing I wasn't able to do when I sprained my ankle was sit in any kind of position that looked like this or looked like this. I can now, which is super exciting, and this is like a really, really new thing that I've only been able to do this. So what I was doing, because I've got quite flexible toes, what I was doing was actually tucking my toes and sitting back into this position instead of using my Vajrasana. This isn't going to work for everyone though, because not everyone has flexi toes, but if you're used to doing your yoga practice, then this will be no problem for you, and you can modify anything that comes down here to here. If that doesn't work for you, then if it's comfortable having the feet flat, which I found was not, up here, it's not so much pressure into the ankles when you're in this position. So up here is totally fine. You can do all of the things that we do in Vajrasana in this position, more or less. When we are down, ooh, hello bee. Okay, little bee. There we go. So when we're down in this, obviously this position is fine, but when it came to any kind of crossing of my foot, where my foot had to roll under because it rolled this way, so that would hurt a lot. I'm so pleased that it does. It's almost all better, which is amazing. So I wasn't able to put this foot down on the ground, and sometimes I can still feel it a little bit. So what I would do is I would find my support with my blanket so that the foot is nicely supported, it's off the ground. And you may or may not, this may or may not work for you. Again, it just depends on how you rolled your ankle, where the injury is, if you cracked a bone or anything like that. So just play around, don't be afraid to modify to work with your body. That's what our asana is all about. It's your yoga, it's your body, make sure it feels good for you. So blankets, blocks, cushions, chuck them under, have a play, see what works. This worked well for me. Another thing I found when I was, when it started to get better and I could cross my legs, actually having my good leg underneath my not so good leg to support the ankle meant that I could actually sit in a cross-legged position. Now my knees are higher than they normally would be, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always lift the hips if you want to, but then that might push your weight onto that front foot again. So again, you could also have padding underneath the good leg to just make sure the not so good leg has support. And this worked really well. Now, I was so excited. I taught yesterday and it's the first time that I've actually sat in the cross-legged position that I enjoy, and that's actually not having my shins crossed. And so now I can do this and it's totally fine. I can also raise my hips. If it's still a little niggly, raise your hips and it takes the weight off. So it's brilliant. Also, I found when I was wanting to eventually sit into my Vajrasana, having my blanket to support my ankles helped a whole lot. It just kept that curve there. And if you have tight ankles, if you have a bone structure that doesn't allow your feet to sit flat, then this is a modification that you'll find very, very useful for your Vajrasana. So you can always have that in your practice, and I did use that quite a lot when it was feeling a little bit better and I could sit in this position a little bit more. And that's the thing, if you feel pain, just gauge where it's at, because sometimes it's the tightness of the tissues because we haven't been stretching them out. So just slowly gauging and just seeing if it is a discomfort or a pain. If there's a discomfort, you can stretch into it and let that work itself out. If it's pain, sharpshooting, avoid it. So I found I had the discomfort, and then I would just gingerly ease my way into it. And now it is pretty much almost all good. I'm super excited about that. And what other modifications? Let's just go through a little practice, just a little flow to work through our legs and see where we're at. Have your blanket at the ready in case you need it. We're going to start in standing. Now, one thing I did find, actually before we go into standing, is when we came into balancing poses, like I didn't realize how much of a balancing pose this was until I couldn't really put much weight onto that front leg. So if you're in a lunge, just ease off and let the back leg do the work. Because what we need is we need that connection through the front big toe to the little toe mound, down to the center of the heel. And if the foot's not strong, it's really hard to do that connection and you'll be all wibbly wobbly. And the last thing you want to do is fall over and create a new injury. So just stay up a little higher if you need to. Use blocks if you need to. When you're back here, with the back leg, I always had my toes tucked because it was just more comfortable for me. But for you, it might be the case that you actually always need to have your toes untucked. So play around and see what works with your practice. But let's get into just a nice big stretch with the mindfulness of what's going on with our feet. And I'll probably avoid a lot of the things I just talked about, just because when you are working with an injured ankle, you don't want to stress it too much. But if you do any of my other yoga videos, you've got those modifications to help you through. Alrighty, let's get to it. Shake it out. Come to the top of your mat. Just take a moment Something I found when I was trying to go into balancing poses was that was really hard as well, and so I would compensate on one side, which is cool, but you don't want to do too much of that because you're going to end up overworking one leg and not working the other leg enough. But for the moment, if you're fresh injury, then definitely your good leg is going to do a lot of work, and that's okay. Just be mindful that that doesn't become a habit. So coming into Tadasana, soften the body, close your eyes, shift the weight into your heels, just see where your weight is right now. Can it be spread evenly across the feet, or do you need to, in my case, my right leg is my good leg, so I'll talk about the right leg, and you'll know that that's the good leg when I'm saying weight into it. So do you need to move your weight into your right leg or your good leg? I can now distribute my weight evenly, which is lovely, but there was a long time where I just weighted it into my good leg for most of my practice. And that's okay, just be mindful of that and make sure that you're doing a little bit of strengthening on your not so good leg as well, otherwise you're going to get some sciatic pain. Let's bring our hands in front of our heart space. And if you are weighted into your good leg, make sure that you're not leaning too much over. Make sure you're not twisting into it as well. Just find that evenness through the body. Soften the knees a little. Open your eyes. Inhale, sweep those hands up. Press through the feet, maybe more into the good leg than the bad one. Not that it's a bad leg, the sore leg. Exhale, let's fold slowly down. Inhale, half lift. And you can run the hands up the shins, of course, if you're not as flexible in. And then draw up through the belly, press the feet, roll up. Inhale, take it up. Grab hold of your left wrist. Use the left arm to leverage yourself over to the left side and reach into that right foot. Inhale back to center, grab hold of your right wrist. Use your right arm to leverage yourself over, and you might need to still keep the weight in the right foot if that's your good leg. Inhale, come up. Exhale, bend the knees, slide the weight back into the heels. That should be okay, but again, you've got to keep the weight in the good leg. That's all good. Press through the feet, rise up. Exhale, bow. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. We're going to step the right foot back first. My good leg, that is. So if it's not, then step your good leg back first. Reach into the back leg. You can have blocks here underneath your hands or use your hands for support. And take the weight off the leg that is injured slightly by reaching back through your good leg. And then release. Drop the back foot. Maybe I'll use good leg, bad leg, just so that we're all doing the same thing, even if it's a different leg. Now here we go. You might need to have the back foot touch. You might need some support underneath the knee because we're going to rise up, and you want to make sure that you're pushing up and not hurting the sore leg. So rise up. It might mean that you're up a little higher, and that's all cool. Breathe into it. This is going to work your glutes, so it's all good. If you're comfortable, you can test the waters and sink into it a little more. And what you want to do is hug in through the inner thighs, and you want to connect as much as you can through big toe, little toe, center of heel. Mound, ball, ball. Exhale, release. And what I did, instead of just pressing back to a down dog from here, is I would just move my weight back and then tuck my toes, and up they go into a downward facing dog. And when I was first injured, I actually didn't put any weight onto my sore leg. So you can have that leg nice and bent. If you're further along in your injury, you can start to place it out and just test the waters a little to see where you're at. Otherwise, keeping the weight off the whole time is totally fine. And then from here, we're going to take the sore leg forward. So if you need to take your knees down first, to do that, go ahead and take it forward again. Drop the back hip. Breathe in, open up, and open out the arms. Inhale up, and exhale down. And this is where it gets a little bit not balancy, so if you need to be a little higher, that's all good. And then let's release and step back. Step forward to the top of the mat and hang. Hang, check your weight, see where it needs to be. Inhale, half lift, and exhale, fold. This time we're going to step the not so good leg back, the sore leg. I don't want to call it a not good leg because it's a good leg. And then drop back. Again, you might not want to have that back foot flat, so you can keep it tucked. Draw back through your right hip crease, so draw up through the belly and rise up. And you might want to rise up a little higher. If that's the case, a little padding underneath the knees might be what you want. You might want to stay down. You might want to keep the knee off the ground. All of these choices are there, and you can make them anytime we come into these lunges. Breathe into it. If you want, you can rise up. See how it feels, opening out those hip flexors on the left side. Oh, it feels so good. And we've got the strength of the good leg. The good leg. And then let's go ahead and step back. And so this is where I would shift my weight and bring my leg through and then rise up into a downward facing dog from here again. And I just keep that leg off the ground. I might just give it a little bit of movement just to see where it's at. So stretching out, and then take our knees down and step that right foot forward again. Finding the comfort for the back ankle, rise up and exhale, let the arms open. Inhale up, keep the weight spread across your front foot and up. And exhale, release. Go ahead, and we're going to step back to our knees into our tabletop position. Feet can be tucked or flat, round out. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. This time into your sunbird, right arm, left leg extended out. Draw up through the inner thigh, reach out through your heel. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it in. Knee to nose, elbow to hip. Press the floor away. Inhale up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. One more. Exhale. Highlight one more after this. Really get that core working. Exhale. And extend. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, if your sore leg can't flex, that's okay. Just let it be relaxed. Relax. Other side, and you might have the toes tucked or not. And here is when it was sore and I just needed more support. I had my blanket. Good old blankie. So extend out through the other side into your sunbird position and hold and flex out through your good leg. Breathe into it and then draw it in and extend and draw it in and extend, draw it in, trying not to arch the lower back as you extend out, and really finding your balance and your strength. So you might need to check that your arm is in a good position, stacked underneath your shoulder. I will do 2 more. Extend. 1 more. Extend. And release that down. Now this is where I would normally in a class get people to move into a child's pose, but child's pose just was not comfortable. So we're going to press into a downward facing dog. And again, you can find softness in the leg that's injured and not have it on the floor if you feel comfortable in your down dog. We're going to walk backwards towards the back of the mat, towards our feet, and release. Let the body hang. Breathe into it. Press through the feet, roll up. Ragdoll. Head comes up last, extend those arms. Exhale, bring the hands behind you, interlace the fingers, open the heart. And then soften, round through. And then inhale, open. And exhale, round. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, out to the side. Inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, center. And exhale, let it go. Inhale up. And exhale, release. Roll out your shoulders. Loosen it up, drop the head, roll down. Inhale up. Exhale, fold forward into a plank. And the plank might not work, so you might need to modify your plank, just depending on where you're at. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me just back a little. And we're going to move down, knees, chest, chin to the ground. Elbows back towards those hips. Chest and chin to the ground. Release. You don't need more blanket. Inhale. You might need your blanket, it depends. Breathe up, no hands. So just baby cobra. And exhale down. Inhale. So obviously in your cobras you can't press down through the top of the foot that's injured. And down. And then this time, inhale, a true cobra, working the strength in our back. We're going to draw the hands back towards the hips. Let the heart open. Elbows in. Breathe. Work the strength in the back. Maybe hug the glutes a little. And exhale, release. Inhale up. And exhale, release. Inhale up. A little higher if you want to. And exhale, release. Tuck the toes, shrug the shoulders back, press up, and that's a lot of core work, so you're not putting pressure into that back foot. And we're just going to walk back into a tabletop position, into a down dog. Change my mind. Breathe into it and you can have the pressure off the foot. And then go ahead, walk back towards your legs and hang again. Roll up, inhale all the way. And hands to the heart, walk to the top of your mat. Let's look at some warriors. Hands in front of your heart space, inhale, raise up. Breathe up, exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift, and exhale, fold. So, warriors, we're going to start down here, and we're going to step good leg back first. So step back, drop the back heel into a warrior 2. So rise up, press through the heel to rise up if you can. If that's no good, rise up first into a low lunge, high lunge, and then turn out into your warrior 2. Now reach into the back leg. Now this will depend on where you're at in your journey and how strong your foot is, but if you feel that that's too intense, then warriors might not be for you. Spiral up through that inner thigh and work back to the back rib cage. Breathe into it, hold 5, 4, 3, reach into that back foot, 2, 1, let's reverse the warrior, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, warrior 2 again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No triangles here because they hurt, and we won't do a forward extended side angle either because that's too much pressure on the front leg. So now we're going to soften and step back into a plank, and it might be a one-legged plank, might be an easy, might be a full plank if you're okay, or it might be a modified plank, wherever you're at. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees, chest, chin to the ground. Breathe into your cobra. Tuck the body up, tuck the toes. That good leg's going to lift you all the way up to your down dog. And you might need to just shift the weight slightly and hold. 3, 2, 1. And if you're stronger, you can step, you can hop one-legged to the top. If you're not, then just take the knees down and go ahead and step up to the top of your mat. So we're going to move to the top of the mat, and I did master the one-legged hop. And let the body hang, and then press and rise, roll up all the way to the sky. Extend, exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, step your feet together, interlace the fingers, turn the palm up, rotate about 45 degrees, and then if it feels good, look up into your bullfighter pose. Make sure your weight is distributed onto the good leg, and then back to center, over to the other side, into your bullfighter pose, on the other side, back to center, release into your chair pose, and again just checking in where that weight is, finding comfort, making your good leg be very strong, and release that out. Exhale, bow, and we're going to step not good leg back, not good leg, sore leg. Find your warrior two, weights into the front leg to help you come up and extend out. So if warrior two doesn't work, again, just avoid it. Come to a low lunge or a high lunge instead, and just breathe there. Breathe, hold, work it out. It really depends on how you injured the ankle as to what you can and can't do. Reach it up and back into a reverse. If you are just high lunging it, we'll do an arrowhead instead. And that's all good. So either you're reversing or you're arrowheading, and either you come back to your warrior two, or you come back to a high lunge, or even a low lunge if you still feel it's too intense on the back foot. Exhale, take it down, step it back, downward facing dog. And remember, if you need to step it back by taking the knees down, do it. There's no need for ego in a yoga practice. In fact, there's no room for it. It's all about listening to our bodies and learning from these challenges that are thrown up for us, and it's pretty exciting. I really enjoyed all the things I learnt from my ankle injury, so I send it a lot of love and a lot of gratitude, because it helped make me a better teacher. Yeah! And then exhale, dropping down. And so instead of a child's pose, I would drop down into a semi puppy pose, just an easy one, so I could at least have some rest. Sometimes I would just rest onto my forearms and let my head drop. Breathe and hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently release and come onto your seat. We're going to stretch the glutes, especially for that right leg, because it does a lot of work. Leg. So good leg first, over the top. Now we're going to do our little glute stretch, and not everyone can get their leg over the top straight away, so you might need to just lean back, take the leg over, and ta-da, that might already be enough for you. Or you might be able to walk up towards the leg. Breathe. If this is too much, then okay, can't do this. Let's do that. And then gently release from there. Now we're just going to take the legs out and give them a good little kick. And then for the ankle that is injured, obviously you don't want to take it straight out because that's going to be too much. So just come into more of a cow face pose, and you could stay down here and just hug both knees in. I find that's just as effective, and you feel a good stretch in the glute, so that's all good. And you've got no strain on the ankle. And that is all good. Or if you want to come up and you feel comfortable coming up, you could do that. But don't feel it as much on this side. you could see how far you can take the knee out to the side of that ankle and just see what's going on there. Or you can stay down here. It all depends on your tightness, the size of your body, yeah, flesh meets flesh and all of that stuff. So there's lots of different versions here. Just for you. A couple more breaths. And then release out and stretch it out. We're going to extend out through the legs, interlace the fingers, stretch. And release. Bring those knees up. Shift your hips over towards the left. Knees into the body. And drop the knees to the right. Extend. And release into it. A lovely gentle twist. I found any kind of hooking of legs or twisting out the legs just was no good. So don't let me stop you experiment and play and see what works for you. Use your props. I definitely used my blocks a lot more for my lunges and stuff when my ankle was sore. I should have had blocks today. Completely forgot about that until right now. And then release back to center. Flip the hips to the other side and drop down into your twist. And have a gently release back to center, lift the hand out the legs, drop the knees in. The sun is on my face, so I really grab my blanket. Blankets come in handy for all kinds of things. Relax here. Let the hips relax, let the feet relax. If this isn't comfortable for the ankle, just have the knees up, wide. It's all good. Now, of course, if you love a good plow pose, you can roll into plow pose from here because that does not involve any kind of ankle work, and it does give you a lovely big back stretch. If you don't like plow pose, just stay where you are, relax, soften, come into Shavasana already, or stay in plow. If plow just feels good, and of course, if you enjoy a good shoulder stand, you can move into a shoulder stand from here as well, because that also does not involve any ankle work. Of course, you can't point your foot to the sky, so just let them relax a little bit, and eventually roll yourself down, nice and gently, nice and control. Fish pose if you like, or counter pose, or Shavasana. And you can stay here if you're completely blissing out for as long as you like. If you're ready to stretch and wriggle, you can rock and roll as well. And eventually, I did sit like this a lot, one leg out, one leg in. So there are a lot of poses. that you can do that don't even go near or touch the ankle. But they're surprising, they'll be poses that you think won't affect it at all, and you'll feel it. So have your blanket nearby, have your blocks nearby, and use them. Use them for your practice. Just because you've rolled your ankle doesn't mean you can't do your yoga practice at all. You just need to be more mindful about it, which is brilliant. Enjoy, and I will see you back very soon. Namaste.